baby, baby, boo. Hey, bundle baby. Hey, girl, how be you? Haley the whore. Still waiting on that left cheek, right cheek video. So, waiting on yours, too. And you could get away with it. And like I said, you could disguise it. You could just do it as, you walk up to the camera and kind of do a boop, 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 boop. Kind of a hip, like, how you girls do. Like, hey, look at me, only, oh, by the way. Get your ass cheeks bouncing and jiggling, but not in a stupid way. I made a new public folder. I put that girl in it. I couldn't really see any, bounce or jiggle, but I saved it anyway just because of like the movement. She had on, like tight spandex pants. Girls' ass cheeks are weird, just because she's got a big, big ass. Not that I like big asses. I mean, a grabbable, squeezable, booty butt, like white girl booty butt. It's all fine and good, but it's just got to be within reason. But Hippery Dippery, for example, her ass is fucking huge. I mean, her ass is bigger than Mrs. Butthead. Actually, they might be about on par at this point. And Hippery Dippery has huge ass fucking thighs too. That fucking broad, she is just. She ruined, her lower half. Speaking of lower half, that's the wrong picture, you fucking moron. Whoever, whatever. So, I didn't post that picture. But, anyway. I know what you're thinking. You still do shit like that? Nope. But, and that one time I don't do this anymore either, but occasionally I would, subscribe to like porn sites. And I would just pay, the month I ate. So, but, and then immediately cancel, and watch it, because everything's bullshit. But make sure your next statement doesn't have a bill from, whatever. I mean, it's always discreet and stuff, but whatever. And then you gotta, call the number. There's always a number there that you can just call and say, boop, boop. There's ways to do it. But anyway, I used to do that. I had to join like a dating site to check out this porn site. Like I said, porn is bullshit. It's stupid. It puts my dick in the dirt. The only reason I might use porn is to snag an accidental shot that looks good. A titty shot, butt cleavage shot. Maybe, she's doing something right for like 10 seconds before she chokes it down and her eyes are watering and she's blowing snot bubbles out her nose, and it's back to normal human shit. And she's some freak, with, lard injected in her lips and hams injected in her ass, I don't know how these earthlings get off to that shit. I mean, I heard, there's like a phenomenon these days amongst young boys, since bitches be crazy and they're just not interested. It's like a 1-2 punch. They're just not, they're not out there like, yeah, I got to impress the chick, make a dent in the world, yeah. They're just like, nah, I'll just sit around and play video games. But, it's kind of like, well, fuck it, the bitches ain't worth it. But they're still pulling all the high caliber dudes because they'll fuck a chick, no matter what. I mean, look at Mrs. Butthead. And then Mrs. Or the Gweed, I already talked about what I think that is. I met a girl, man. She's the one. I'm going to ask her to marry me. She's going to give you grandbabies, She's perfect. Only thing she needs now is a huge ass and huge thighs. Then she's divine, or whatever. Fucking douchebag Guido was thinking. Not that I care, but for anybody like, oh, but it is what it is. The rules get applied to me, but don't actually apply to me. So Good old Mrs. Buddy. So when I see that belly, will she really be off the list? You saw the ring, but she's still on the list. Yeah. Now the next step is, how long is it going to take her? She's got some time. If she's smart, and I've said this shit before, but I'm going to say it again, she probably realizes, what's her budget, what's her plans monetarily. Is she going to be a stay-at-home mom? What does a Gwee do? Is he a hotshot booger snot, or does he work at a car dealership? Does he work at a car dealership and he's employee of the month, every month, or at least every 2 or 3 times a year? Or does he own, 4 or 5 dealerships? Easy, cheesy money, overhead and employees and, turnaround, and he's got a system figured out where the ship makes money. It makes enough to stay afloat. It makes enough to retain employees long enough, or at least keep them rotating through where he's not understaffed. Car wash, maybe something's all automated. And he's got enough, left over to keep for himself. And the owner, it's his baby. He's got skin in the game. He's the one who has to file bankruptcy if it goes under, as far as I know, and that affects his credit. That doesn't hardly seem right. This winner, this overachiever, this go-getter out in the world, started a business, it failed, and it's like, yeah, but dude, he came up with some innovative solutions. He was thinking, he was always trying shit. He was ahead of the curve, and okay, well, let's try this, but what's the backup plan when this doesn't work? If this doesn't work and this happens, what are the consequences? What's going to happen? Well, I already got a plan B. Maybe even what comes after B, A, B, C. Plan C in place. And, but this business still fails, and it, affects his credit. That doesn't hardly seem right. It doesn't hardly seem right at all. But, the bank is like, well, are we going to lose money on this? So I guess we're back to square one, But those are not my problem. I'm not a mover and a shaker, an overachiever, go-getter. I never had any desire to, run my own business. Even the truck driving thing, it's like, nah, fuck that. I like just driving somebody else's truck and not have to worry about the fuel repairs, trying to find a load. Man, fuck truck driving, man. I mean, you got to be really smart, if you're going to be an owner-operator. Most of them are, they'll lie their ass off, and say this, that, and the other, but, that's just human nature. Oh, yeah, I make, $200,000 a year. Yeah, oh, yeah, after taxes and all the repairs and fuel. Yeah, the fuck you do. But some of them do, but not all of them. Otherwise, anyway, but the rotation is big too. They come and they go, they get their CDL, they drive for a year or two, realize, fuck that shit. The local shit, okay, whatever. But even then, you're working long ass hours. But anyway, so the magnificent Gweed. The Gweed. So, and he's probably thinking the same thing. She probably sat down and said, oh, got all serious, what's our family future plan look like, And he's like, something switched on, he's like, this is the one, this is the girl. So all of a sudden, he's thinking like a husband and a dad. And she's thinking like a wife and a mommy. So they're like, yeah, let's live it up. Let's travel the world, hike in the Swiss Alps and, whatever. Take ski trips to, I guess that would be the Swiss Alps. I don't know. Where you're the only people who speak English, and the people who do speak English have heavy accents. The Gwee, the motherfucking Gwee. But anyway, like I said, I wanted to see if she would make it. Fucking gutter rat, gutter trash like that. Bada bing, bada boom. Here she is. She found her stallion. He found his ugly duck. And I want to see if they start a family. Kleber, she's not available anymore. To stalk. Not that I stalk. It's minimal. But 10 minutes in, What was I gonna say? If anything, did I say what I already wanted to say? Hey, Katie Boo. Hey, girl. How about you? Are you just like done now? The whole troll thing, you know. Speaking of, you know, because Mrs. Butthead, you know, it's the 11th hour for her. Well, maybe 11:20. But girl, for you, maybe it's not, you know, 11:59, but it's definitely 11:45. You know, so anyway, job's going well. You know, learning all the different tasks, you know, that you do in a loader. And I've already kind of got the aptitude for stuff. Loaders operate a little bit different, you know, but I think in those terms, you know, of how to operate equipment. Because if you don't know how to operate it, you can make things hard for yourself. But if you know how to operate it, you know, I just need to become efficient at stuff, you know. But I'm getting smoother and faster and, you know, just doing things, you know. Okay, I need to position the bucket like this. Okay, that won't do enough, so I got to raise it a little bit, then lower it a little bit. And, okay, the ground's kind of uneven, so I have to go slower, you know, so I don't, because remember the tires are going to go up, so then the bucket's going to go up, so you kind of got to, you know, have a feel for that. Okay, this is soft dirt, this is hard dirt. So when the tires go up, I'm going to have to just lower that bucket a little bit, and then just raise it back up, because I don't want to be digging shit, because now your tires are going to dig in the hole that you just dug. And, you know, just stuff like that matters. You know, there's finesse, just like anything. There's all these unforeseen, unspoken things that you just have to discover. But I already happen to know that, so my learning curve is going to be very minimal. So yeah, but in the dumping, moving forward, but it doesn't matter. So, but just muscle memory, getting a feel for the machine, and then being able to get in any machine that's maybe configured a little bit different with the handles. You know, like I've never ran an excavator before, but I ran one of those little Bobcat rentals before. So you could probably put me in an excavator as a job stroking dirt, as they say. And shit, probably within a couple of hours. You know. Yeah. Anyway, I'm just thinking out loud. Nobody cares. I'm not trying to sound like a dumbass. But, operating a loader is not hard, but I do live beside myself, and it's just nice to have that shit already out of the way. But anyway, like graders, or blades, you always see them running real slow and stuff. I've never run one of those, but I guess you could say I have an aptitude for equipment, be it a vehicle. It just is what it is, And when I was 16, I drove a lot of different cars. I did low-level mechanics type stuff, but I would also do a lot of driving. Each car drives differently, especially back in my day. These days, they're all computer controlled. They're just dead, throttle, lag time, computer, new cars pretty much all drive the same. So, but old cars had a feel. Carbureted cars with a throttle linkage that actually went to the carburetor or the throttle body, with a spring, I remember I was driving a truck one time and the throttle spring broke, so it was running up against the governor the whole time. So, if anybody knows how a big truck drives, the gears aren't synchronized. They have to match engine speed or transmission speed. So I limped it back to the shop, but it was, nighttime and I still was under load and whatnot. This was a local job. So to downshift, I would lower the RPMs with the brake, push the clutch in, disengage, boom, jam that gear into the next gear as fast as I could. And then same thing, upshifting. So I don't really know how it works, but there's a thing on the clutch that's called like a clutch brake, and you would jam that all the way down, and it would kind of help. But basically, you would just power through and boom, jam that into gear, and somehow it worked. I mean, I'm not going to try to explain it because I don't really know how it worked in the first place. But I know the way big trucks are set up with those big gears, spinning in the transmission, that it's a doable thing. And that was kind of funny, because I'd be at the stoplight just, and then I'd have it, in gear, right? I'd downshift every gear, just like that. And I was like 18 years old, so I thought it was, kind of fun. Get up to the stoplight, and then slip the clutch. Don't just, because then you're putting pressure on the U-joints and all that shit in the drive line. So slip the clutch, and then all the way down. And it was fun. Drive, These days, the truck would just shut down. You'd need to call a tow truck because a computer sensor would not allow you to drive a truck that wasn't functioning normal. And like I said, I mean, computers are such fucking faggot fucking bullshit. I'm not lying. That guy who came out, because the truck I was driving at my last company wouldn't start, he said there was a dome light went out in the sleeper of a truck that was new, and the Jake brake wouldn't work. And the dash lights going out, and just all this fucking faggot fucking tech boy bullshit. Back in my days, it was analog. It was either run by a wire or a vacuum sensor or something, or a cable, a physical cable. And just son of a bitch, by golly, Miss Molly, So, and like I said, shifting and the Jake brake and keeping your RPMs high, if you were fully loaded, and because I'm doing it again. I'm reminiscing, I'm having a moment, a nostalgic moment. Because I've driven all different types of transmissions, including a 5 and 4 double stick, and I don't know, it's like, well, why would you need to use all those gears? I don't know, but it's geared in such a way with the transmission gears and the differential that you have to use all them fucking gears. And so it was one, just look it up, you can probably find it, but it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the main, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 on the auxiliary. But the one on auxiliary was so low, you didn't have to use it. But it was a standard H pattern on the main one, but the second one was for second, and then up, over, and down was third, and then fourth. So you'd be at a stoplight, and after a while, you'd get to a point where even if you went around a corner, you could just be in neutral in both sticks, and you'd be like, okay, third on main, third on, auxiliary, or whatever, you'd know that. So it's like you're in first, then you're in second. So grab from second up over third, and then up, and then you're supposed to. A lot of guys will do two hands. The gears aren't synchronized, remember. So I'd grab the one over. I think you had to do the. I forget what you had to do first, but I'd grab the one gear. The RPMs would drop, and I'd rev it up, and then drop the second gear. But it was fun. I actually have it in one of the cool folder or whatever. There's a little truck, and it's like a Detroit diesel, like 2-stroke. So it's got that nice, that sweet sound. At least that's what it sounds like anyway. But so yeah, I mean, you're just rolling through gears, just it was cool, man. It was fucking cool. I was 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 years old. I think I was like 22 when I had that one job. I'm making, a shit ton of money, 18, my first job, 18 years old. Actually, drove past my high school, which was kind of weird. I would drive up past Stanley Lake High School because I worked down in Denver, is the yard that I worked at, the one where that guy drove up on with that big huge loader. Hey, you want to run this? Nah. But they had a plant in Lafayette, and it took me right past my old high school. And I'm thinking, man, technically I should be there right now, like in, fifth period. But instead I'm making, I won't say how much I was making to try and, hide my age. It was good money back in the day. I'm a millennial, so. And, it was good. Things were good like wood, said the termite to the flea. The flea said, motherfucker, we discussed this. Don't tell me how good things are going for you. Just they're not going so good for me, man. Help a brother out. Have some sympathy. Oh, I'll tone it down. The termite is obviously in every right to be like, yeah, said the termite. Yeah. But, the first time I drove a 18 speed with like a 500 horsepower transmission fully loaded with pea gravel, it was like that scene in Demolition Man. Oh my God, I love this gun. Because I came from a company where it's like, you'd have to climb up that hill in third gear. I hit third gear, split the gears, boom, shift down, split the gear while you're, splitting or split it early, but then you got to shift it quicker, whatever your preference is. And then boom, split the gear, boom, just, oh man. It was sweet, man. Driving used to be fun, dog. And they were local jobs, so I was shifting and going around corners and stoplights and, over the road, you're probably just going to be in some 9-speed or 10-speed or maybe a 13-speed for up in the mountains or something. But these days, honeymoon's over. Every single fucking truck on the road. I walked up to a dude the other day with an old dump truck. It was like an 80-something. And I said, hey, man, if you ever want to sell this thing, let me know. And he's like, oh, no, this is my baby. How are you ever going to sell it? I'm like, man, I wouldn't either. But I said, next time I see you, I'll give you my number. And if you ever do sell it, let me know. Or just throw it away or whatever. So eventually I'm going to get my deuce and a half Army truck. So, yeah. Katie Boo, you want to roll into town, on a Saturday night in a dump truck or a deuce and a half. Come on. A monster truck. Huh? Come on with you. Maybe you want to pull that thongs on and find the thinnest, tightest pair of spandex pants you own and do a nice point of view. I'm not saying you should. I'm not saying, I'm not suggesting anything, but you want to. You've shown panty line before. It's just it would never be panty line like that. So, anyway, just don't show any hip straps. So you'll have to make sure that you got your pants go up. Because if you've got the hip straps sticking out, then that's slutty. But if we can just kind of see a nice, proper whale tail, proper cut, not all wide and shit, and not all straight, across the top, it's like, oh yeah. You'll probably get some comments because I noticed that you got a couple of simp dudes who are like, I gotta crush them, and all that. So yeah, you go, girl. You're a hot bitch. I don't know what your problem is. I don't know why you're not married. So I guess you went through a bunch of shit all at the same time. Is that why you mentioned that? Nutrition. Oh. On top of that, everything that you were going through, your gut bugs were pissed off and not in harmony with what you were eating, but you're all squared away now. Anyway, 24 minutes in. I felt like a man called Otto today at lunch. I went to Burger King, got a sweet tea, and was just chilling in the parking lot. Then I threw my cup away, dumped the ice out in the grass, right? And then I walked around the parking lot picking up trash, and I threw it away. Oh, shit. Yeah, looking at all the cars in the parking lot parked crooked, like the wheel is turned, and their ass end is like over the line, it's like these fucking people. Yeah. That's a funny movie, that Cat. Get in the box. He cuts out a little hole for it. Oh, That's going to be like me and your dog, Cindy, you know. I'll just be sitting here like, what are you looking at me for? I'm not Katie. I'm not your mom. What do you want? I already fed you. You know. I attempted to take you for a walk, but you just sat down. You're not thirsty. I pet you. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's what you want. You're not happy unless you're in the movie. Oh, okay. Well, come on then. You know. While she's out doing some grocery shopping or whatever, you know, just leaves me with her dog. She'll come home, she'll see her dog just sleeping next to me, you know, and she'll be like, oh, that's so sweet. My aunt's dog, when she was a puppy, she used to jump up on the seat and ride on behind my neck, between the seat and the back of my head. She didn't do that with anybody else, just me. And again, my aunt was like, she'd baby her, you know, she'd crawl up and sit on her lap, and she was like a big damn dog. She weighed like 65 pounds. But I would, you know, pet her, and then I'd be like, no, you know, her place was at the end of the couch. Occasionally I'd put socks on my hands and wrestle with her and stuff. That was fun. Shit. One time she got out, she was so excited. All these new smells. I had to basically walk all over town with her, and then finally got her, and she's heavy, right? So I had to throw her up over my shoulder. You know? And I'm walking through town with this dog over my shoulder. I felt like an idiot. But the window was down too far, and shame on me, she jumped out. So she was that kind of dog, you know. You called her? No, she ain't coming. There's way too many new things to sniff and pee on out here. So, anyway.